Welcome, traveler. As you settle into your place of rest, let the world around you fade into quiet. Let the edges soften. Let the day's worries melt away. Tonight, I invite you to step softly back in time, to a place long forgotten by most, yet once the beating heart of the ancient world, Babylon. The name may echo faintly in your memory tales of hanging gardens, of towering ziggurats, of mighty kings and mysterious gods. But tonight, we will not charge through history with haste. We will drift gently, steadily, like the slow current of the Euphrates, weaving through stories of mud and majesty. We'll begin, as most lives do, not in palaces or temples, but in the dirt, in sandals, beneath a sun that did not forgive. Imagine yourself waking not in your bed, but on a reed mat in a clay-walled home. In Babylon, the first thing you feel is heat. It is still early, just past dawn, but the air already carries a heavy warmth, thick and unmoving. Your home, made of sun-baked mud brick, holds the heat like an oven. There is no glass in the window, only a linen cloth, stiff with dust. Outside, the narrow alleyways begin to stir. You are not a noble. You are not a priest or a scribe. You are, perhaps, a potter's apprentice, or maybe a laborer, bound to the temple estate. Either way, your day begins early and ends late. There is no privacy and little silence. The city breathes all around you, constant movement, the braying of donkeys, the soft slap of sandals against stone. Water must be fetched first. Always the water. You walk, jug balanced on your hip, toward a communal well. The sun climbs higher as you go. The streets are uneven and slick with discarded waste from the animals. There is a smell earthy, sour, not entirely unpleasant, but dense. Familiar. Your clothing is simple. A wrapped linen tunic, stained from work, knotted at the shoulder. Your feet are bare. Sandals are a luxury, especially ones that last. The work begins once the sun rises fully. You might spend the day mixing clay, shredding it with your feet until it becomes pliable enough for shaping. Or perhaps you are hauling bricks to a construction site, stacking them under the silent eyes of temple guards. There is little room for rest, no cold drinks, no shade, unless you made your own. You sweat, and the dust clings. The river is close, always close, but it does not always give gently. In the spring, the Euphrates floods, unpredictably. Homes wash away, fields drown. Yet, without it, nothing grows. At midday, a small meal, bread, coarse and flat. Perhaps dates, if you are fortunate. Water, if you've saved enough. And if your work is linked to the temple, you may be offered beer, thick, fermented, grainy. More sustenance than pleasure. The laws that govern you are strict and unforgiving. The code of Hammurabi, etched in stone centuries before your time, still echoes in the air. If you are accused of theft, there is no trial as you know it. Guilt or innocence may be tested by river ordeal. Thrown into the water, if you float, the gods have spared you. If not, so you keep your head down. Speak carefully, trust little. The sounds of daily life rise and fall like breath. Children's laughter, the rhythmic beat of a loom, merchants calling out weights and wares, the low chant of priests in the distance. But your day continues in labor. Always motion, always heat. As the sun sinks behind the walls of the city, shadows lengthen. You return home with sore muscles and dry lips. Your body aches in places you no longer name. You eat a second meal, nearly identical to the first, and then you sleep, if the flies allow it, if the neighbor's noise dies down, if the heat breaks just enough. There are no pillows, no mattress, no running water, no medicine, save the crushed herbs and whispered charms of the local midwife. And still, you wake again to the same sky, the same dust, the same city that offers so little and demands so much. This was Babylon, not the Babylon of legend, but of labor, of survival, of ordinary lives carried by extraordinary endurance. And now, as the torchlight flickers low, we leave the potter's wheel behind. Let the clatter of the day fall silent. Our next story lies not among the workers, but upon a gilded throne. When you are ready, we will begin the tale of a king who built wonders to touch the heavens, only to watch them crumble into dust. You open your eyes to the sound of drums, low, rhythmic, distant. This is not the alley of the potter. This is the heart of an empire. It is the 6th century before the Common Era, and you stand in the shadow of Babylon's golden age. And at the center of it all, ruling not just a city, but a vast stretch of the ancient world, is one man, Nebuchadnezzar II. His name, even now, hums with memory. He was a builder, a conqueror, a visionary, a king who dreamed in bricks and bronze and made his dreams real. But like all men, he was mortal. Let us begin at the beginning quietly, as all great stories do. The boy who would rule Nebuchadnezzar was not born to stillness. He was the eldest son of King Nabopolassar, the founder of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Born into power, yes, but into pressure, too. As a child, he likely heard the grumblings of war in the next room. The empire was still forming, stitched together with sword and promise. He was named after the god Nabu, patron of wisdom and writing. Perhaps it was fate. When his father died in 605 BCE, Nebuchadnezzar was already proving himself in battle. He rushed back from a victorious campaign against the Egyptians to seize the throne. A dramatic entrance, a warrior crowned, the builder of wonders as king. Nebuchadnezzar's appetite was vast. He saw Babylon not as it was, but as it could be. He rebuilt the city on a scale few could imagine. The Ishtar Gate, deep blue, inlaid with golden lions and dragons, was one of his most stunning creations. It shimmered like a dream in the desert heat, welcoming both pilgrim and prince. He expanded the great ziggurat Itamananki, believed by some to be the inspiration for the Tower of Babel. He restored temples, leveled streets, raised walls. He turned Babylon into a city of beauty and pride, not just of necessity and dirt. And then there were the Hanging Gardens. Though their existence remains a mystery, ancient accounts describe lush terraces of greenery rising above the city walls, watered by hidden mechanisms, an oasis built for his queen, who missed the green mountains of her homeland. Imagine it, a city of stone cradling a mountain of flowers, a monument not to conquest, but to love, the warrior's reach. But Nebuchadnezzar was no gentle gardener. His armies swept across the region. He crushed the Egyptians, subjugated the Levant, and famously laid siege to Jerusalem twice. It was he who captured King Jehoiachin of Judah and later destroyed the First Temple, carrying the Jewish elite into Babylonian exile, a chapter deeply etched into biblical memory. To his people, he was strength. To others, he was judgment. He ruled for over 4 decades in eternity by ancient standards. And during that time, Babylon became the largest city on earth. Its influence rippled across continents. But as all stories rise, so too must they decline. The fall into madness later sources, especially the book of Daniel, tell of a strange chapter in Nebuchadnezzar's life. They speak of a powerful king who grew proud, boastful, godlike. One day, he looked over Babylon from his palace rooftop and claimed all glory for himself. And the gods, it is said, did not take kindly to arrogance. The story tells of a punishment, a divine madness. Nebuchadnezzar, stripped of reason, was said to have lived like a beast eating grass, hair unkempt, mind lost. Was this truth or moral metaphor? We cannot know, but it is a quiet warning. No matter how high a man builds, he cannot touch the sky without consequence. Eventually, Nebuchadnezzar returned to the throne, or perhaps he never truly left it. But the end of his reign was quieter. His successors failed to hold the empire together. Within a generation, Babylon would fall to the Persians, and the great city would begin its slow descent into ruin. The echoes that remain tonight, as you rest, remember this. The hands that built empires are not so different from your own. They craved, they feared, they hoped. And even the mighty, with their gates of lapis lazuli and walls of fire-hardened clay, must yield to time. Let your breathing slow. Let the gardens fade. For in the next chapter, we'll leave kings behind and dig beneath the dust into secrets buried for millennia. A riddle, a temple, a shattered artifact that whispers from the dark. A soft-spoken descent into the forgotten mysteries beneath Babylon. Close your eyes. Imagine the sands parting, just slightly. The tip of a broken column. A fragment of cuneiform etched into clay. A shard of something long thought gone. We leave behind the bustle of Babylon's surface and descend quietly, carefully into the ruins beneath. For as much as was built above, even more has been lost below. This is not the world of kings and glory, but of fragments and echoes, of archaeologists kneeling in dust, of secrets carried in silence for 3,000 years. Whispers from the ground. The rediscovery of Babylon began not with gold, but with patient hands. In the 19th century, European archaeologists arrived at the site of ancient Babylon near modern-day Hilla, Iraq. At first glance, there was nothing but mounds, massive, unremarkable heaps of earth. But beneath them, entire avenues, temple walls, forgotten shrines. German archaeologist Robert Koldewey began excavating in 1899, and with slow, deliberate care, he unearthed the Ishtar Gate, stone by stone, piece by piece. He revealed not myth, but masonry, and with it, countless clay tablets, thin, rectangular, and covered in tiny wedge-shaped script. Cuneiform, the world's oldest writing system. Each tablet a voice, each symbol a whisper from the past. The Enuma Elish, Babylon's creation story among the tablets was one particularly haunting relic, the Enuma Elish, Babylon's creation myth. It tells of the primordial gods Apsu and Tomat, and their children who warred and struggled for order. Of Marduk, the young god who slew Tiamat and formed the world from her broken body, the heavens from her ribs, the earth from her remains. Marduk becomes the chief god of Babylon. His temple, Esagila, was said to be the heart of the city. High priests recited the Enuma Elish during the New Year festival, a chant echoing from the temple walls like a sacred lullaby. Through this myth, the Babylonians didn't just explain the world, they placed themselves at its center. Even in rest, the story feels vast and ancient, like being cradled in a tale so old, no one remembers where it began. The tablets that knew everything. Other tablets, seemingly mundane, reveal the structure of daily life. Tax records, crop inventories, school exercises, business contracts. But then, stranger ones emerge. Astronomical calculations, medical prescriptions, ominous dreams and portents written in chilling detail. One tablet lists signs of impending doom based on the appearance of sheep livers, part of a practice known as extispicy. In another, a lunar eclipse is recorded and linked to royal danger. This was a world that believed nothing happened by chance, that the stars, the animals, the weather, everything was a message from the divine, and it was written down. Preserved in coal-fired clay, these thoughts survived floods, invasions, fire, and empire collapse, but only by being buried. The Hanging Gardens, myth or misplaced. Among Babylon's greatest mysteries is the famed Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Curiously, no definitive Babylonian record mentions them. Greek historians like Strabo and Philo describe lush terraces, irrigation wonders, and exotic plants hanging above the city walls. But Babylon's own chronicles are silent. Some scholars now suggest the gardens may have existed not in Babylon, but in Nineveh further north, in the Assyrian capital, misattributed by ancient travelers, lost in the sands of retelling. And so the gardens remain half real, rooted in possibility, veiled in myth, a dream preserved only in second-hand memory. The silence below today, the site of Babylon, is mostly quiet. A few scattered walls, the dry hiss of wind over stone, and yet, still, the earth holds more. Thousands of tablets remain untranslated. Each one may hold a story never heard, a lullaby, a list of names, a forgotten law, and somewhere, deep beneath centuries of dust, there may still lie a temple untouched, a statue, a sealed room, a moment waiting. History does not speak loudly. It hums, it whispers, and if you listen closely, softly, calmly, you can hear it. Even now, let yourself drift. Let's return to the surface now, but not to toil in the mud or walk among ruins. Instead, let us slip softly through carved doorways and into candlelit courtyards, where silks whisper and incense drifts like breath. A calming look at privilege, power, and routine in Babylon's upper world. The city outside is loud, but behind thick walls and finely painted doors, Babylon's elite live to a different rhythm. You are no longer the laborer, no longer the potter's apprentice. Tonight, you are someone else entirely. Perhaps a wealthy merchant's daughter, or a palace scribe, maybe even the favored wife of a minor noble, just important enough to be comfortable, but not enough to be remembered. The linen you wear is clean, soft, imported even. Your jewelry lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, carnelian from India clinks gently as you move. Let's walk through your day with no need to rush. Morning in the courtyard, you wake to the sound of a servant drawing water, not from the public well, but from your private cistern. The air is still warm, of course it always is, but there's a quiet coolness here in the inner courtyard. The walls are high. Ivy curls along the edges. A fountain trickles softly. A meal is brought. Flatbread, sweet dates, perhaps some goat cheese wrapped in leaves. You eat slowly. There is no need to hurry. The affairs of the city, debts, shipments, marriages, disputes will wait for your presence later. You step lightly between tasks, supervising servants, reviewing correspondence, perhaps visiting a nearby shrine to offer oil to Ishtar or Marduk. Wealth buys space. Space buys silence. You write on clay if you're educated. Many elite women are. The scribal schools are demanding, but you've passed them or someone in your household has. You may even compose a poem. The Babylonians loved their literature. An afternoon of influence in Babylon's upper circles. True power lies not only in gold or land, but in favors owed. So in the afternoon, the house becomes a quiet theater. Guests arrive. Some bring news from the court. Others want access to a priest, a judge, a soldier's loyalty. You sit, sometimes apart, sometimes central, always watching. Conversations glide over wine and sweet cakes. Servants fan away flies. Musicians pluck soft notes from lyres in the corner, though no one really listens. Every glance, every nod is calculated. Babylon's elite do not rule by law. They rule by expectation. And always, always, the temple is near. Offerings are made on your behalf, not out of piety, but out of custom. Religion here is social gravity. It binds and balances. Evening behind closed doors at dusk. The world outside the walls changes. The workers return. Markets close. The scent of cooking onions, lamb, garlic, and spiced stews rises through the alleys. But here, in your home, it is more refined. Dinner is served in shallow bowls on low tables. Quiet conversation. Candles flicker against the red-painted walls. The roof is cool at night. You may sleep there in warmer seasons, beneath mosquito nets. under stars that trace the same patterns they did in Sumerian times. You look to the sky and see Mars, which they call Nergal, god of war. Venus, called Ishtar, the lady of love. Every light in the sky is a god moving through their duties. You wonder if they see you too. The quiet power of status being a light in Babylon does not mean total safety. You are still subject to gossip, to the king's mood, to the whims of prophecy or the sharp tilt of a rival's ambition. But for now, in this moment, you have a seat in the center of the world. There is no throne beneath you, no sword in your hand. But you have what few others do: security, space, influence that flows like water from the canals. The palace walls are painted with lions. The gardens are trimmed. The wine is sweet. And you will sleep soon guarded, perfumed, wrapped in soft linen. Not from comfort alone, but from the quiet certainty that tomorrow the city will still be yours to shape. Closing the night, so let us leave Babylon here. Not in fire, not in ruin, but in stillness. Let the city sleep now as you do. Its towers crumble only in dreams. Its kings whisper only in stone. You have walked its narrow alleys, climbed its palace steps, knelt by its buried shrines. You have tasted its dust and its dignity, and now you may rest. Good night, traveler. You walk beneath a canopy of linen sheets strung between wooden poles, casting gentle shadows across baked mud streets. The air smells of oil, dust, and dried figs. This is Babylon's market district, the living artery of the city. The heat is constant, but here, under the awnings, it feels less harsh. Still, the scent of humanity's sweat, spices, and livestock hangs like a veil over every breath. Merchants call out softly, their voices laced with both urgency and formality. There is no shouting. Babylonian commerce is as much ritual as it is business. Eyes meet, heads nod. Silence can speak more than words. You are no one here, a quiet passerby, perhaps watching with interest, perhaps hoping for a small errand from your master, perhaps just resting in the shade. You pass rows of goods laid neatly on reed mats: garlic, onions, long coils of dried fish, jars sealed with wax. But nothing is bought with coins. Instead, you see silver, carefully weighed on tiny scales. Babylon's entire economy runs on precise measurements. 1 shekel of silver might buy a measure of barley, a flask of oil, or time with a weaver. Every transaction is documented, not casually spoken, but pressed into tablets by scribes seated behind shaded stalls. These scribes are professionals, silent and sharp-eyed. They roll damp clay between their fingers, press styluses, and nod slowly. A small misrecording, a single wedge out of place, could cost someone dearly. Elsewhere in the market, noble women walk in fine linen robes, their hair curled with care, guarded by servants. They shop for perfume sealed in tiny alabaster jars and lapis beads from distant mines. The rich smell of incense drifts from one corner of the bazaar. A stand selling frankincense and myrrh, its stall hung with tiny bells. But there are darker corners too. You glance away as a man is dragged forward, accused of cheating weights. Punishment here is not subtle. His scales are broken. His name may be etched into a tablet as a warning. Still, the market endures. Deals continue. A child cries for a sweet. A donkey brays in protest. A girl sits quietly weaving date, leaves into a fan. As you leave, the light shifts. The shadows lengthen. The day creeps onward. You don't carry silver. You carry dust on your sandals, the whisper of deals, the smell of dried fruit and iron and clay. The marketplace fades behind you, but Babylon does not rest. You hear it before you see it. The Euphrates River murmurs like a living thing. Its water glints in the harsh Babylonian light, flowing steadily past the city's western edge. It is both blessing and burden divine and destructive. The Babylonians call it piratu, and they revere it as a gift from the gods. Without it, nothing lives. The river feeds irrigation canals, fills cisterns, waters crops, and cools the air in shaded courtyards. At dawn and dusk, people gather at its edge to wash, to pray, to carry jugs of water back home. But the Euphrates is not gentle. You sit quietly by its bank now, watching a group of workers strengthen a canal wall with woven reed mats and sticky black bitumen. The earth here is soft, always wet, always sinking. One miscalculation, one stubborn season of too much rain upstream, and the entire plain may flood. You've seen it before. Entire districts swallowed, homes reduced to slurry, chickens drowning in alleyways, children carried away in the current before their mothers can even scream. The flood season in the early spring is a time of tension. People don't sleep deeply. They listen at night for the change in tone, the rising whisper of water over the canals, the shift from trickle to roar. When it comes fast. And then the fires. Babylon is made of mud brick and thatch, but cooking fires are constant. One stray spark can leap from roof to roof. Entire city blocks have vanished under red light and smoke. There are no fire brigades. Only buckets, shouted warnings, and prayer. Temples may offer sacrifices to appease gods of destruction, but the flames do not listen. You remember one such night. You were younger then. Smoke in your throat. The sky glowing red as families rushed into the streets, carrying baskets of grain and crying infants. A neighbor weeping over a scorched tablet, his family's lineage, now unreadable. Still, the river flows, and the city rebuilds. Because it must. The Euphrates gives no mercy, but it gives life. And like the gods of Babylon, it does not need to be kind to be worshipped. Now, as you sit in stillness by the water's edge, you let the breeze brush your face. The air carries the scent of mud, of fish, of distant reeds. Somewhere downstream, children splash in the shallows. A dog barks. A priest murmurs over a floating offering. And just like that, the river returns to calm. Babylon breathes again. In a quiet courtyard tucked between temple walls and merchants' homes, a small wooden door creaks open. Inside, the air is warm not from the sun, but from the bodies of children seated cross-legged in rows, each holding a slab of fresh clay. You've entered the Eduba, the tablet house, a Babylonian school. The room smells of oil lamps and dust. There are no windows, no colorful scrolls or maps, no soft chairs or cushions, just hard earth, sun-dried bricks, and the ever-present rhythm of styluses scratching across damp clay. The students here are mostly boy sons of scribes, priests, merchants, and even palace officials. They are trained not in war or trade, but in the sacred art of writing. Cuneiform. Each wedge they press is deliberate, laborious. The script is not alphabetic. It is dense and symbolic, requiring thousands of memorized signs. Learning it takes years. The master scribes walk slowly between the rows, holding canes. Not for show. Mistakes are corrected quickly and painfully. The tablet house is not a place of laughter. You watch a boy squinting at his assignment, transcribing a hymn to Marduk. His fingers tremble slightly. The clay is beginning to dry, and if he does not finish soon, the stylus will crack the surface. Next to him, another student has written an inventory. 1 sheep, 2 measures barley, 1/2 mina silver. Real-life practice. Future scribes must master accounting, law, letters, and literature. A few boys chant out loud lists of signs and their meanings. The room buzzes softly with effort. In the corner lies a box of broken tablets. Failed attempts. Practice slates. Perhaps a few disappointments no one speaks of anymore. But among these children sit the future record keepers of Babylon. The men who will one day document trades, marriages, prayers, omens, even royal decrees. They are the memory of the empire. And yet, when their work is perfect, their names will not be known. Their handwriting, their care at all becomes invisible. Because history does not reward the recorders, only the recorded. As the lesson ends, the students leave in silence. The clay tablets are stacked, drying. The room empties. Only the smell of damp earth remains, and the faint echo of learning carved in silence. You step outside. The sun has shifted. Shadows stretch across the courtyard. And somewhere deep in the future, someone might one day find one of those discarded tablets, misread it, or understand it completely, and wonder who pressed these marks, and what did they hope to remember. The city's heartbeat changes as you approach the massive ziggurat that looms above the rooftops, the Edimenanki, house of the foundation of heaven and earth. Its stepped terraces rise in layers of sun-baked brick, worn smooth by centuries of wind and dust. You climb slowly now, feeling the coarse stone beneath your sandals, the air growing cooler as you ascend. At the summit, the priests await silent custodians of Babylon's sacred mysteries. These men are more than servants. They are interpreters of the divine. They watch the stars, read the entrails of sacrificed animals, and cast lots to divine the future. The smoke from burning cedar and frankincense curls upward, carrying prayers beyond the reach of mere mortals. Inside the temple chambers, intricate carvings depict gods with lion heads, serpents, and wings forms that embody power, chaos, and protection. The high priest wears robes of dyed wool, patterned in deep blues and reds. His voice is low and steady as he chants invocations to Marduk, Ishtar, and Nabu. These rituals are not mere ceremony. They are the fabric holding Babylon together. If the gods are displeased, famine, war, or plague may follow. You watch quietly as a tablet is presented an offering of thanks, or perhaps a ply for mercy. Outside, the city hums below, but here is a fragile stillness. The priests are the bridge between earth and sky guardians of a world, where every thunderclap or eclipse is a message from the divine. As the sun dips, incense smoke drifts, and you descend softly back into the dusty streets, carrying the scent of cedar and mystery with you. You stand before a tall, black monolith. It rises from the earth like a finger pointing skyward, its surface polished smooth, its crown carved with the image of King Hammurabi, receiving divine wisdom from the sun god Shamash. This is no shrine. This is the code of Hammurabi, etched in dense cuneiform, nearly 1,000 years before your time. But even now, the laws it holds still echo through Babylon. They are not gentle. As you approach, you read the phrases slowly. The script is precise, the message blunt. If a builder constructs a house and it collapses, killing the owner, the builder shall be put to death. If a man destroys the eye of another man, his eye shall be destroyed. The code is built not on mercy, but on measure. What is done must be repaid precisely. A tooth for a tooth, a shekel for a shekel, a name for a name. But justice in Babylon is not equal. The punishment for harming a noble is far greater than that for harming a slave. A woman's word holds less weight in court unless supported by others. And the penalty for theft, for those without wealth or title, is often death. You drift into a court chamber stone wall, open-roofed. A scribe reads a dispute between two farmers. The harvest failed. One blames the irrigation channel, the other, the gods. The judge listens, silent. Nearby, witnesses shift nervously. This is not law as you know it, not about truth, but order. Babylon must be kept in balance. Crops planted, debts paid, families preserved. And so the laws press down, not gently, but steadily. Like the bricks that build the city, they are meant to hold everything in place. As you leave, you glance back at the stone pillar. Its surface gleams darkly in the setting sun. The words carved there will outlive every merchant, every priest, every king. Even now, millennia later, they remain, unblinking, unchanged. Night comes to Babylon not with silence, but with signs. The stars emerge slowly over the rooftops and across the city, whether in palaces or mud brick homes, people watch the sky. To be Babylonian is to live in a world where nothing happens by accident. Dreams, shadows, animal births, flickering flames, strange noises, all are messages. All must be read. You sit now in the corner of a small home. The lamp burns low. A woman, middle-aged and hunched from years of labor, stirs a pot of herbs over a glowing coal. Her daughter lies on a mat nearby, eyes closed in uneasy sleep. She dreamed of rain in the house, the mother says to the man across from her, Azu, a healer priest. His beard is long, and he wears a tablet case across his chest. The man nods. A flood of words is coming, too many truths. You must bind her tongue at sunrise. She thanks him, pays him in bread and lentils. This is not rare. Every family, every village, every priest watches for signs. The Babylonian dream manual's dozens of tablets worth map symbols to fate. If you dream of eating fish, it means deception. If your teeth fall out, a relative may die. If you fly, your spirit is unsettled. If you hear dogs howling at night, someone in the city has summoned death. And so, the diviners stay busy. You follow one of them now, in a temple chamber lit with torches. A goat has been sacrificed. The priest leans in close, studying the animal's liver, its shape and veins. This is extispacy, an ancient art of reading divine will through organs. To modern eyes, it is strange. To Babylon, it is vital. Before any major decision, marriage, building, travel, war, the gods must be consulted. Their signs must be read correctly. Otherwise, disaster follows. You glance up. The ziggurat cuts the sky in steps. Above it, Venus glows, faintly known here as Ishtar, goddess of love and war. The priests watch her rise and fall. They've tracked her motion for centuries, noting eclipses, alignments, omens in fire and wind. These observations are written carefully on tablets, forming the earliest astronomical records known to humankind. They do not study stars as curiosities. They study them as warnings. Because to sleep in Babylon is to risk being seen by gods, by demons, by fate itself. Even common folk carry amulets, tiny figures of lions, twisted knots of reed, protective carvings hidden in their sandals. The world is heavy with invisible rules, and yet, in this superstition lies comfort. If there is meaning behind every shadow, then perhaps your suffering has shape. Perhaps it can be answered or undone. As the night deepens, a cold wind brushes the alleyways. Somewhere, a baby cries. A dog barks 3 times. An old woman stirs in her sleep and mutters the name of a dead husband. The city turns gently in its slumber. Its gods, for now, are still. And you may dream safely. Or not at all. The scent of baking bread fills the narrow alleyway long before you see the woman tending the clay oven. She moves quietly, skillfully, patting flat rounds of dough between her palms and slapping them onto the inner walls of a rounded tanner, a mud brick oven glowing faintly with coals. Each piece bakes, quickly blistering, browning, and softening in moments. This is Babylon's most basic meal, bread and beer. But this isn't the beer, you know. It's thick, cloudy, and barely fermented. You drink it through a straw made of reeds to avoid the floating grain husks. It smells faintly of sour porridge, and to the Babylonian poor, it is a staple nutrient-rich and endlessly varied. You sit now in a low-walled courtyard, where a small family finishes their evening meal. A thin stew of lentils and garlic bubbles in a clay pot. There's pickled radish, crushed onions, a few dried dates. If they are lucky today, There might be fish from the Euphrates pan fried with leeks and mustard seed. If not, more barley. Always barley. The Babylonians ate what they grew, and they grew what they could water. The Tigris and Euphrates gave them wheat, onions, cucumbers, and sesame. They pressed oil from flax and churned butter from sheep's milk. Chickpeas and turnips thickened stews. But meat was rare. A lamb might be slaughtered only during a festival or for temple sacrifice. Chickens were not yet common. Pork was eaten, but only by those who could afford it. And beef? That was for the priests and nobles. You follow a servant now into a wealthy household. The air inside is cool, perfumed with coriander, dill, and saffron. The table is low, surrounded by cushions. A quiet meal is being prepared for a noble and his guests. There is roasted duck with pomegranate glaze, a side of mashed lentils with garlic and mint, baked cakes sweetened with honey, and cups of date wine served with cold water drawn from the underground cistern. Everything is deliberate. The plates are clay, the portions small. Food for the elite is as much ritual as sustenance. But even here, hunger is remembered. Every Babylonian knows famine. The years the floods came too soon, or didn't come at all. The times when barley wilted in dry soil, or mildew ruined the dates on the tree. There are tablets written by palace scribes during such years, records of food rationing, prices rising, grain theft, and temple appeals. One tells of a woman selling her jewelry for bread. Another of men who starved outside the ziggurat gates. Still, the rituals continue. The bread rises. The stew simmers. You take a bite of the barley flatbread, fresh from the oven. It's rough, dry, a little sour. And yet, in that small bite lives Babylon itself, humble, fragrant, surviving. As the night deepens, the household clears away the bowls. Water is poured over hands. The fire dies low, and the people of the city return to their mats, bellies full or empty, beneath the hum of stars.